Okay, welcome everybody. Wednesday night question and answer. We are going to open up with a prayer. Let's see, that's a little more. Oh, no. Okay, let me move this camera one more time. All right, we're going to open up with a prayer as we get it started. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name. Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come. Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done in earth.
Thy will be done in earth. Thy will be done in earth.
As it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven. As it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread.
And forgive us our debts.
And forgive us our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
As we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation. Take that out.
Lead us not into temptation. Lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
Thine is the kingdom. Thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power. And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory. And the glory.
Forever.
Forever. Forever.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, again, welcome everybody. Let's see. Welcome everybody. Wednesday night Q&A, and we're gonna open it up. Somebody had texted me a question. We'll open it up if anybody got a question now. We'll get to that in a little bit. So, starting on the phone line, anybody got a question to start off with?
I have a question, Brother Elijah.
Okay. State your name and your city, even though I already know.
This is the sheriff from Dallas.
Hey, Sister Cheryl from Dallas, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Lord is merciful. What's your question?
Okay. It came up in conversation. A lot of people...
Hold on one second, Sister Cheryl. Make sure you have your phone muted, because we can hear your background noise. We got one person talking now, Sister Cheryl from Dallas. So we shouldn't hear nobody but her. So mute your phone so you're not interrupting, the Bible study. Okay. Go ahead, Sister Cheryl.
Okay. It came up in a conversation I was having. We were talking about how you're supposed to honor your father and your mother. And I never really met my father. And my husband never really met his father. His father passed away before he was born. So that question came up: how can you honor somebody you don't know?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's that kind of take care of itself. And I think the big thing about honoring your mother and father is probably more so you being reminded. Like, for instance, flip over to Matthew 15. You got to mute your phone. We hear your background noise, whoever that is. So, the big Matthew 15, Jesus kind of explained it from the other side of the coin because, you know, the commandment says, honor your mother and father that thy days may be long upon the land. So that automatically is letting you know that you can't dishonor them. So you being in a position or not in a position to do anything, in the realm of, good for them is not breaking the commandment because you don't have any control over that and you are not dishonoring your mother and father. So that's the key with honoring them, that you're not dishonoring, that you're not, talking, I don't know if I should say that, but a brother, it's alleged, a sister that I knew came to Bible class years ago. It's alleged that her son killed her. So that's the epitome of dishonoring. And this is real, true story going on right now. So that's what he's referring to. You could talk bad to him. You can curse him out. You can beat him up. You could kill him, as people have done. That's really the key, that you not dishonor him. Now, if you're around him, there's things you could do to honor him, further. But that's honoring him when you're not dishonoring. This is what Jesus gets to here. Matthew 15, and pick it up at verse 1. Because they're going to ask Jesus about some tradition which fits well for our situation now, brothers and sisters, because everybody, the world has been deceived and everybody's caught up on man's tradition and nobody pays attention to the importance of keeping God's commandments. So this fits our situation on a whole nother level, that it fit Jesus back here. Matthew 15 and verse 1. Go ahead, my brother.
Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread.
So this is what the religious people want to bring to Jesus. They started this conversation. Jesus didn't even ask for this. Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? And they say because they don't wash their hands when they eat bread. Now, and they might have meant well by that commandment, by that tradition that they start. They might have meant well. They might have been trying to figure out a way to honor the cleanliness laws some kind of way, since they couldn't do it like it's written. But see, that's why we're not big on just making up our own thing, because if God didn't say it, then it's man-made. It's man-made. So they were big on it. They were pushing it to the point they asked Jesus, "What's wrong with y'all? Why your disciples don't honor the tradition of the elders?" Jesus just bypassed that because he saw where they was coming from. Verse 3.
But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition?
So he took them to a whole nother place. Why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? Why you do that? You telling me about some tradition that's neither here nor there. I don't have to do it to please God. Don't matter what nobody say. And at the same time, while you so worried about your tradition, you ignoring God's commandments. You're not paying attention to what God said. And this is the commandment he's going to use as an example. And we can do the same thing with even other commandments now, because it's still going on. But go ahead.
For God commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother, and he that curses father or mother, let him die the death.
Okay, so now he went to the fifth of the 10 commandments, what God did command: honor your father and your mother. So he went to that. But he took it, he took it further than what you can do in the positive light. He took it what you better not do in the negative light. He said, for God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother. And he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. Verse 5.
But ye say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition.
So they came up with an excuse to get around keeping God's commandments. They made it of none effect. They had a way around it. Had an excuse. And that's the same thing a lot of people do today. They come up with an excuse. Just like the seventh day being the Sabbath. Got all kind of reasoning not to observe the seventh day, which we know is Saturday, as the Lord's Sabbath day, which is the day that the Lord ordained. He never ordained another day. They say, no, it changed. That's a lie. They say, no, you don't know what day is what. We know it's 1 through 7. We can count. Or every day is the Sabbath. That's another lie. They got excuses to get around that. So that was the same way it was back here. And Jesus is upholding God's commandments way above man's tradition. Just like man is gearing up for Christmas, you know. But we just got through celebrating God's holy days, the Feast of Tabernacles, Day of Atonement, Memorial of the Blowing of the Trumpets. That's what God commanded. That should be of utmost importance. And traditions that man have made up, like Christmas and Thanksgiving, all that stuff, that shouldn't even be on the radar. But being that this world is deceived, they're caught up on it. So concerning this, honoring your mother and father, really the key is not to dishonor them. You might not be in a position to do nothing special for them, to do nothing nice for them, to do nothing for them. Especially, you know, God's not going to hold nobody accountable. They never knew them. You know, the key is you never dishonored them. You never, as he said here, cursed them. You never did anything like that, which plenty have. And that's a serious offense, according to what Jesus said. He said here in verse 4, for God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. So that's a serious offense right there. So hopefully that answered that question, Sister Cheryl, and we'll move on.
It did.
All right. Let's see what we are working with on another question. Anybody on the phone got another question while we're here? Yes.
Yes, Brother Elijah. This is Sister Jeannie from Aurora. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Sister Jeannie?
Okay. I wanted to piggyback off of Sister Cheryl's question about honoring your mother and father.
Okay.
Well, would it be a dishonor if your parent is sick to the point where you can no longer take care of them and you put them in a facility for their benefit? Because, well, that's basically the situation I'm currently dealing with at this time. My mother, she's been diagnosed with mixed Alzheimer's and vascular dementia. So for the last 4 months, she had a real bad incident on June 30th. And it caused her to have need of like 85% of my time.
Right.
And you know, I love her dearly, and I look at the commandments and it say honor your mother and father, and I look at the history in Israel where they took care of their elderly.
Right.
You know, and I'm trying to do the best I can, and I pray and ask for strength to do so. But sometimes it gets so overwhelming because I have no help. It's just me.
Right.
And I'm not, I know that I was told by the doctors that her health would be declining, and to a point where she, you know, to a point where I won't be able to. I'm not trained to deal with people that have hallucinations and forget everything. You know, can't. You know, it's a mental decline.
Right.
And it's kind of stressful. So I did speak with my siblings, and they put all the decision making on me. Well, whatever you decide to do is okay. So, you know, sometimes, like I said, it gets overwhelming, and then I think about what the professionals told me, that is going to come to that point where I'm not going to be able to take care of her, where I'm not going to be able to leave her alone for at periods of time. You know, can't trust her. She might try to cook. She may walk off. You know, and I know that it would be for her own good, but I'm struggling with that, Brother Elijah.
Yeah, well, that's
you know, because I leave her sometime on the Sabbath to go to class because, you know, and I try to get some participation where somebody can babysit her for me so I can go to class, but man, I need that Sabbath. So I put it in God's hands and I try to make it to the class on the Sabbath, but I know that I'm going to have to make a decision because I have my own issues as far as health I'm dealing with.
Right, right.
But I was just wondering if that's a dishonor if I have to put her in a home. But, you know, I'll go see her when I can.
Mm-hmm.
But, man.
Yeah, well, that's kind of understandable. Like it, you know, the Lord don't put no more on you than you can handle. So that's what the Bible says. So, you know, in certain instances, we can only do what we can do. You know, it's speaking about something else, not a situation exactly like yours, but something else. Even as far as you dealing with people that's hard-headed, or you dealing with people that you got enemies. So, but it says this in Romans 12. It says, as much as lieth in you. As much as lieth in you. So that means as much as you are capable of. You know, now it's talking, like I said, that's talking about, it says, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. So everything with the Lord, it's according to your ability, you know, that you can do. And the Lord know. Now, if we just shucking our responsibility and not trying to do what we, you know, just being negligent, that's one thing. Let's just read that. Let's do, like I said, it's talking about something else. But let's look at that in Romans 12 because it says some good stuff. So as long as we're not being negligent, like it says in Luke 12, it talks about, let you know who have opportunity. He that don't know God's will, and that would go for not having opportunity to do it as well. The Lord show mercy on that. So by you not being able to handle it, that's kind of like, you know, that's understood that you can't handle somebody that needs professional care. That's understood. But look at this right here. He talking about, just start reading at verse 9. Romans 12 and verse 9. Go ahead.
Let love be without dissimulation.
Mm-hmm.
Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good.
Okay, so we supposed to love without basically dissimulate. That's faking. You know, you saying one thing, but you really another way. But go ahead.
Be kindly affection one to another with brotherly love.
That's what we called to do. Go ahead.
In honor, preferring one another. Not slothful in business.
Okay, so not slothful in business. So we're not going to be doing that. And this is not fitting your case. But that would be another thing. But go ahead.
Fervent in spirit, serving the Lord.
Go ahead.
Rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation. Continuing instant in prayer. Distributing to the necessity of saints. Okay, so we supposed to distribute to the necessity of saints. And even, you know, especially, you know, our own family members and all that. We get some more information on that. We're going to read this Timothy in a minute. 1 Timothy 5. We're going to go there. But let's finish this. Go ahead. Giving a hospitality. Bless them which persecute you.
So we supposed to be about all that. Giving a hospitality, which don't, you know, if we doing that and we just don't have the opportunity or we just don't have the ability to handle a situation, you know, somebody might need to borrow some money, but I might just have barely enough money for myself. I don't have the money to loan. And that's true right now, so don't ask me. But go ahead.
Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not.
He said, bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. Go ahead.
Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men.
He said, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. So that's what I was talking about. But notice, even in that instance, he says, as much as lieth in you. So that's across the board. Any situation, it's according to what we are capable of doing. God understands that. It's what we're capable of doing. It can't be, you know, it's something you can't do and God is going to hold you accountable for it. That's not how God operates. We'll go to 1 Timothy 5 because we should honor, you know, when we have opportunity and we are able to do it, we should honor our parents and elders, even if you got older aunts and that you can help. You should do that if you can help. And like you said, you're not getting ready just to drop her off somewhere and abandon her. She just needs more care than you can give right now. So, but we should honor them. Like he says, and let's pick it up at verse 1. 1 Timothy 5 and 1. Go ahead.
Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren. The elder women as mothers, the younger as sisters, with all purity. Honor widows that are widows indeed.
So like you say, Israel, and even, you know, he was letting these Gentiles know the same thing, that they needed to look out for the elderly and look out for, you know, in this case, he said widows. But notice he said something else, verse 3. He said, honor widows that are widows indeed. What do you mean that are widows indeed? Because, you know, we could try to help some widows as an organization, but then that depends on if she can't get no help of her own. Like if she got family members, like in your case, you know, that's your mother, then that is your job to do whatever you can to take care of your mother. And you still doing it even by putting her in a facility you looking out, you making sure she getting some type of care that she needs on a regular basis. So he said, honor widows that are widows indeed. Because see, what they had, they might have did something through the church program where they would help widows and the widows could work for the church and it could be kind of like a trade-off. They might have did that, but they wasn't doing it. They didn't want to do it with anybody. That's why he said with widows that are indeed. He going to explain it, verse 4.
But if any widow have children or nephews.
See, but if any widow have children or nephews, what?
Let them learn first to show piety at home and to requite their parents, for that is good and acceptable before God.
Okay, so now, he said if any widow have children or nephews, that is the children's responsibility. So it's good that you understand that that's your responsibility, but you can only do what you can do. So that's why he said, if any widow had children or nephews, let them learn to first show piety at home. You know, because see what he gets. Because a lot of people think a church organization is supposed to do everything. You know, they say, well, the church is, you know, let's just take, people got an aunt that's a widow, but let's just take it to the church. And they can provide for her. They have the ability to help her out and provide for her. But they want to just drop off at the church. Now, that's out of order. But if it's a situation where you cannot take care of somebody got a medical condition or something like that, then that's understandable. But this is what he is warning against. So he said, let them learn to show piety at home and to requite their parents, for that is good and acceptable before God. Now verse 5.
Now she that is a widow indeed and desolate trusteth in God and continueth in supplications and prayers night and day. But she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. Okay, so and
that's a widow indeed, that they going to be focused on the Lord, because that's who they took into this program. Even had to be a certain age to get into this program, because they didn't want to be going through and, you know, woman come in and then next thing you know she getting married and all that. You know, it's just a waste of time, turn out to be. So that's what he's speaking on this level. But go ahead, verse 7.
And these things give in charge that they may be blameless. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he have denied the faith and is worse than an infidel.
See, so this is showing you we're supposed to take care on, and really it's putting the responsibility do start with the man anyway. It start with the man. So in your situation, like you explained it, this is something that you can't really handle, then the Lord definitely understand that. But in cases where, you know, we can take care of our loved ones, we can help them out, we are supposed to do that. Even, you know, being in the Word, you know, we supposed to, you know, it don't even have to be family members. You know, because we family when it comes to the Word. You know, the Lord say his brothers and sisters are those that keep his commandments. So we supposed to do that even with brothers and sisters who are in the Word, who serve in our God. We supposed to do that. So, but he said, but if any provide not for his own, especially for those of his own house, he have denied the faith, and he said it's worse than an infidel. Keep reading a little bit further. Verse 9.
Verse 9. Let not a widow be taken into the number under 80 years old.
So the program that they had, the widow had to at least be 60 years old. Because she's younger than that, she going to go and do something else anyway. She going to start fornicating or even just get married, but still, hey, that erased that, because you can't be being, you know, working for the church and supplied by the church if you married. So in that capacity. So that's why he said she had to be 80, which is 60 years old. And then she had to have some criteria. Go ahead.
Having been the wife of one man.
Having been the wife of one man. Go ahead.
Well reported of for good works. If she have brought up children, if she have lodged strangers, if she have washed the saints' feet,
Mm-hmm.
if she have relieved the afflicted,
Mm-hmm.
if she have diligently followed every good work.
Uh-huh.
But the younger widows refuse. For when they have begun to wax wanting against Christ, they will marry.
See, they'll marry again. So it just shows you his rules, everything can't be done. So really, he's letting Timothy know that every seemingly charity case is not something that we can take up. Every seemingly charity case is not something that we can take up anyway. So that's how it is, period. So in your case, like I said, you can only do what you can do. And, you know, like I said, you gonna still continue to visit and see her. But if you got to put her where she can get better care, that's understandable.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Elijah.
You're welcome, Sister Jeannie. Okay. We're going to see what else we got going on here. So I got a question earlier somewhere here. So the question I got was about Romans 11. So let's turn to Romans 11. As Paul is speaking, right? And then is he talking about, what is he talking about? The olive tree. Okay. So yeah, in Romans 11, the question is about Paul speaking about the olive tree. Or was Paul speaking, which it was, and then what did he mean concerning this olive tree here in Romans 11? And this is this just show you. Recently, I had a brother. He was saying that Paul was a Gentile, and brothers have said that for years. Going back some years, brothers have tried to use that tried to pour salt on the New Testament, act like something is wrong with it. And they said, well, Paul was a Roman anyway, so we shouldn't be listening to him. So I tell you what, before we read Romans 11, let's read something in Acts. And I'm going to find what chapter it is in Acts. Then we're going to come back to Romans 11. I think it's Acts 22. Somewhere around there anyway. Romans 11, we're going to come back to. We're going to look at Acts.
Hey, Brother Elijah, this is Brianna. I just wanted to let you know that I was on the call.
Okay, good. I'm answering your question now. Good. Praise the Lord.
Okay.
I figure you would have made it better now. So, we, let me see. I'm going to throw this in here. This is not really about her question. Let's look at yeah, it's all over here. Acts 23 and verse Acts 23 and verse this was concerning Paul. Look at Acts 16 first. Keep your finger in Acts 23. We're going to read that. I want to read Acts 16 first. You're going to have fingers everywhere. Acts 16. And show you how this thing started. Because Paul was getting whooped on for preaching the truth. He got locked up. And then the Lord had the angel basically open the doors, but they didn't leave because of the jailer. And then they was told they could go. So verse 36, Acts 16 and verse 36. Read that and we're going to move around a little bit. But go ahead.
And the keeper of the prison told this saying to Paul, the magistrates have sent to let you go. Now therefore depart and go in peace.
Okay, so they told Paul, they had locked him up. They was in prison overnight. And again, they only getting locked up for preaching the gospel. Because the gospel was flourishing. So, and once it started flourishing in an unjust society, that's going to be a problem always. So, they had him locked up. And then they knew they didn't have nothing on them. So they said, look, y'all can go. They sent word they could go. But what Paul said, verse 37.
But Paul said unto them, they have beaten us openly uncondemned, being Romans, and have cast us into prison.
So Paul said they beaten us openly, uncondemned, being Romans. So he is referring to himself as a Roman. And this what throw people sometimes. This what some Israelites say, oh, he's a Roman. He wasn't nothing but he Roman. He said he was a Roman. Look, that's no more than, it's just like if you in another country right now and you got citizenship in America, you will. They say, well, where you from? Well, I'm from America. You know, just like if we go out of town, we go to Toronto to preach the gospel. If we go anywhere, you got to have a passport. What kind of passport you got? Well, I got an American passport because you can have a passport from any country with the country you live in. So, well, let me see your passport. What passport? It's an American passport. Yeah, I'm American. Citizen. But that don't have nothing to do with nationality. Right. And that's all Paul was dealing with. But see, some people get carried away with it, and they take this and run. See, he was a Roman. He did call himself a Roman because he was trying to show that he had some type of rights. That's what he was trying to show, that they shouldn't have been whooping on him. They done beat up on us, and we uncondemned, and we Romans, and cast us into prison, and now they do what?
And now do they thrust us out privately?
Uh-huh.
Nay, verily. But let them come themselves and fetch us out.
He was bold. So tell them to come over here themselves and fetch us out. But go ahead.
And the sergeants told these words unto the magistrates, and they feared when they heard that they were Romans.
See, that's why he threw that out there. That's why he threw that out there, because it's like, look, we got certain rights. We got certain rights that you're not supposed to be, impeding on. So that's just wisdom to use that. It don't have nothing to do with citizenship. Them people got scared when they said that. They like, oh, man, we might be in trouble messing with these cats. But now, go to the 22nd chapter of Acts. We're going to get to 23 too. He said it again here. Paul threw that around whenever he thought it'd work for him, because the Lord teach you to be wise as a serpent. Acts 22 and verse and this is Paul again. Acts 22 and verse 23. Go ahead.
And as they cried out and cast off their clothes and threw dust into the air, the chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle and bade that he should be examined by scourging.
They say be examined by scourging. Go ahead.
That he might know wherefore they cried so against him.
So they was going to whoop on him again here. Paul, what happened?
And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned?
Paul was smart, boy. He like, hey, let me holler at you. Is it lawful for you to scourge somebody that's a Roman and uncondemned? Is that legal? You tell me. Go ahead, 26.
When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, "Take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman."
See, he's a Roman, but he's not an Italian, because that's what the nationality of the Romans are. Mm-hmm. He's not an Italian. He just got Roman citizenship. He said, "Look, take heed what you do to this man. This man is a Roman." Go ahead.
Then the chief captain came and said unto him, "Tell me, art thou a Roman?" And he said, "Yeah." Mm-hmm. And the chief captain answered, "With a great sum obtained I this freedom."
See, it was something it was something that you can qualify for. That's why he said, "Oh man, I got you." Because with a great sum, I had to pay to become a Roman citizen. With a great sum, I attained this freedom. Paul really was just throwing it around.
Right.
Because he hadn't paid no great sum. but he was smart. So he said, "Look, with a great sum, I'll turn this free." Paul just going to play that all like, "Yeah, I got you. Well, I was born free, so I ain't worried about that." But anyway, go ahead.
And Paul said, "But I was free born."
But I was free born. Because he didn't want to get into that, how he became and all of that. Because he using that to get out of these beatings they trying to put on. Mm-hmm. Now we go to the 23rd chapter. But it's all been said now. 23 and verse matter of fact, where was we at? We could have read that, but that's okay. 23 and verse 27. 23 and 27, read it.
This man was taken of the Jews and should have been killed of them.
See, the Jew, that's how he ended up appealing to Rome, because his own people was trying to kill him. So he was taken of the Jews and should have been killed of them. Go ahead.
Then came out with an army and rescued him, having understood that he was a Roman.
Having understood that he was a Roman. So that's how he got saved in this predicament here. Because he used the citizenship, which again, hey, I could be an Israelite. I know I'm an Israelite, but that don't have nothing to do with where I'm at and what my citizenship is right now.
Right.
And you can't get around that. So now let's go to Romans 11. To the scripture in question here. Romans 11.
Entry and exit chimes are now off. Everyone else is now muted.
Okay. Romans 11, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Romans 11, verse 1. And this is where Sister Bria's question comes from. Go ahead.
I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid. Mm-hmm. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
See, this is what the Israelites didn't read that Paul said. They read where he kept saying he was a Roman for citizenship purposes, but they didn't read where he said he was an Israelite. And he said that writing to the Romans. Because that's his nationality, Israelite. And you know this is his nationality because he's breaking down tribal order and everything. So this is his nationality. So same thing applies to us. Though we can't figure out the tribe exactly now since we in captivity. But according to the curses that God put out there, the signs that he said will follow Israel, we know we Israelites, brothers and sisters. We know we the people of this Bible. But when it comes to citizenship, hey, in this country, we Americans. We got American citizenship. Got a birth certificate. And it works for certain purposes at this time. So much so, you got people from other countries trying to come and get American citizenship, even though it don't benefit us as it do other people, but still, that's why you got other people trying to come in and get it. Because it can be beneficial. So I say then, if God cast away his people which he foreknew, so he preaching to the Romans to let them know that God's still dealing with his own people who are what? Israelites. He's still dealing with the Israelites. So the answer was, he answered his own question. He said, God forbid. God doesn't cast away his people. That's what people don't understand to this day. They think Israel don't matter to God no more. So we Methodists and Baptists and Catholics and Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists and think Israel don't matter in the Bible. So we can be all these other things. He said, God forbid. For what?
For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin.
He even broke down his tribe. One of the 12 sons of Jacob, Benjamin, of the tribe of Benjamin. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. So that is letting them know, these Romans know, that look, why would you think that God cast away his people when you see he's still using me to help you all? And I'm an Israelite. They kind of, like, they must have been forgetting. Well, you know, God done with Israel. And Paul sitting over there like, hey, who do you think I am?
Right.
Who y'all think I am? Y'all done forgot? So that's the point of the matter. So that's what this conversation is about through this chapter. The importance of Israel, that God haven't done away with them. Keep reading.
Verse 2. God hath not cast away his people which he foreknew.
He made it plain. Go ahead.
Wot ye not what the scripture saith of Elias? How he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life.
Okay, so now, so the point of the matter that Paul is showing is God haven't cast away Israel. And he's giving an example to that by showing, even when it looks like it's not many sound Israelites left and around, don't worry about it. God still got some. He still got some. He's going to keep some in his back pocket, so to speak. So he gave an example with the prophet Elijah when it was slim pickings on the Israelites doing right. God still had, he had Elijah, but even when Elijah thought it was all just him, the Lord told him, look, I got 7,000 you don't even know about.
Right.
That's what the Lord had to tell him. So that's the example Paul is using, let you know, look, it don't matter how it looked, God got him some Israelites who he still using to spread his word, to handle his business, because that's who he used. He don't really get down with nobody else like that. He said, Israel only have I known. Jesus, even when he came, he said, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So, but this is why he has to make it plain, because Israel is in a bad predicament. So it's easy to look down on Israel and say God has done away with them. And this is what he's making clear is not the case. So now skip down and save a little time, because he go on to say how Israel have fallen and messed up. Verse 7. Go to verse 7.
What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for.
Not yet, but go ahead.
But the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded.
Okay, so he said Israel, meaning Israel as a whole, we haven't got the whole spiel that God promised to Israel. But God still got them some that he taken from Israel and using, even though a lot of Israelites are blind. Go ahead, verse 8.
According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see.
Now he talking about his own people, Israel. Yeah. He talking about his own people. See, so this is why it's easy for people to try to write Israel off, because we messed up as a people. We messed up. And, don't want to heed to God's word. So it's easy for some outsiders to say, God ain't dealing with them people no more. But Paul was like, don't forget me. And there's some more like me out here doing it right. Go ahead.
And ears that they should not hear unto this day.
Go ahead.
And David saith, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. I say
true.
then.
That's true to this day, but go ahead.
I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid.
Go ahead.
But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy.
Okay, so now he bringing in the Gentiles, which is who he preaching to, these Romans, and he letting it be known. He said, look, because he making it plain that Israel have stumbled. But he said, have they stumbled that they should fall? Is that the case? And so he go on to say, God forbid. But even through Israel's, I say, temporary demise, that we fail, and it's only a handful of us doing right now, even through that temporary demise, he go on to say that through that, salvation has come to the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy. Because that's how the Gentiles got access. Jesus came to save Israel. And then, in that process, open the door to other people. That's when the door got open to other people. So, he going to show, though, that Israel's fall is just temporary. Verse 12.
Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world.
Talking about the fall of Israel. Now, remember, he already said he ain't done away with it permanently. We ain't done away with it because he's an Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin. Go ahead.
And the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness?
How much more their fullness? Because that lets you know it's a temporary fall. So, what he's saying is, brothers and sisters, if when Israel failed, the world benefited because of Jesus coming, an Israelite.
Right.
If when Israel failed, the world got some benefits out of that. How much more when Israel rise back up? That's when the world going to be, it's going to be, the whole world going to be rejoicing when the Lord bring Israel back. That's why the Lord tell everybody, not just Israel, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and pray for Israel. Even say, Lord, save the remnant of Israel. That's what he tell you in Jeremiah. Save the remnant of Israel. We're going to read that. He tell everybody to pray for that. See, so everybody should be hoping and praying for the salvation of Israel because that's beneficial to the Germans, the Greeks, the Ethiopians, the Romans, Italians. That's beneficial to everybody when Israel come back to their proper place. So he said, how much more their fullness? Verse 13. Now he's speaking directly to these Roman Gentiles who he preaching to and writing to. He's speaking directly to them concerning Israel, the lost sheep. Verse 13.
For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office.
See, now he really telling them, look, this is my job, and this is the reason I speak to you. It's not that I think my own people done away with, that I speak to Gentiles, like that's the way the world think nowadays. Some people, that the word just to change and been given to the Gentiles. Israel are the original people, the original Jews, which is black people, don't matter no more. That's not the case. He said, I magnify mine office, if what?
If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them.
He said, I ain't forgot about my own flesh, though. 15.
For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead?
So now again, if Israel getting cast away temporarily, we know it's temporarily, benefited the world, made God come and start reconciling the world through Jesus, what shall the receiving of Israel be but life from the dead? That show you God can bring you back from any state. Go ahead, 16.
For if the first fruit be holy.
For if the first fruit be holy, go ahead.
The lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches.
Go ahead.
And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
Okay, so when you get to this olive tree, because this was part of Bria's question, when he gets to this olive tree, he's actually here referring to the Gentiles. Because he said, and verse 17, if some of the branches be broken off, because he let it be known that Israel basically is Israel's tree. Like he said in verse 16, for if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. So now we got us a tree there with branches on it already. Then he said, if some of the branches be broken off, that's referring to some of the Israelites that's messed up. And thou, talking to the Gentiles, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree. So is Israel's tree, Jesus establishing Israel are branches on this tree already. Some of those branches got broken off. Now you got some wild olive tree branches basically, and then put them onto the tree. Don't even belong on the tree. This is referring to the Gentiles. That's why he say grafted in. It's just like people do that, women mostly do that with their hair. They take and graft some more hair onto their hair. Okay, that hair technically don't belong there, but you didn't put it there. You done added some hair to your head. Well, this is what he's saying. You added some branches to this tree that naturally don't belong, but it can work if they flow with the rest of the tree. It can work. So this is what he's telling the Gentile. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, that's the Gentile, because they didn't know God at all, were grafted in among them. You got grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree, the original olive tree. Do what? Don't do what? Verse 18.
Boast not against the branches.
Boast not against the branch. This is what he warned in the Gentile. Don't boast against Israel. Because originally it's their olive tree. So don't boast against Israel. What that's saying. So don't boast against the original olive tree. Don't boast against it. Basically, you've been grafted in. Boast not against the branches. Go ahead. 18. Finish 18. Read 18 again.
Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
See, you're not in control of it. You don't bear the root bear you. You know? The Lord run this, and he set it up through Israel. Keep going.
That will say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in.
He said, I don't want you to say this. He said, because you might say this. The branches got broken off. See, you might puff yourself up like this and say, see, he got rid of them. He got rid of them no good Israelites so he can bring us in because we better and all of that. He told them, don't even go there with that. Thou might say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. See, this is an Israelite versus Gentile conversation.
Right.
How the Gentiles got into the word, on the backs of Israel's downfall. So you might say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Verse 29, not necessarily. Go ahead.
Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off.
No, it didn't have nothing to do with you, first of all. It's Israel's unbelief that got us in trouble with God. It had nothing to do with nobody else. Our unbelief got us in trouble with God. So don't even puff yourself up like that. Go ahead.
And thou standest by faith.
And now you stand by faith. Do what?
Be not high-minded, but fear.
See, don't be high-minded. See, and that's what happened. This is exactly what's taking place. What Paul is warning the Romans of. It's no coincidence that he's warning the Romans. Don't get puffed up against the original people. God haven't cast away his original people. They were starting it already then. Now you look at the Roman Catholic Church, who say that they run the church, and basically you don't even hear from Israel as far as they concerned. Israel don't matter as far as they concerned, because They done took over the church. This is exactly what Paul was warning them not to do. They can't run the church. That's why it's all messed up now. Because they just got grafted in the first place. They not even the original branches on the tree. So he said, you know, because of unbelief, talking about the natural branch were broken off. Thou standest by faith. Don't be puffed up. Don't be, he said here, high-minded, but fear. Why? Verse 21.
For if God spared not the natural branches.
Now that's the Israelites, the natural branches, who he chopped some of them off because of our unbelief. So he telling the Romans, you know God gonna do you if he didn't spare his own natural branches off of this tree. You know you just some extra hair put on the head. Mm-hmm. You know you're gonna get rid of that. Mm-hmm. If he chop off some natural hair, you know, you got no problem chopping off some extra hair that don't even belong there. Right. That's what he's saying. For if God spared not the natural branches, do what?
Take heed lest he also spare not thee.
Go ahead.
Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God.
This is where people don't pay attention to God, period. That they want to talk only about the goodness of God. But God, it's a two-way street with God. You got to recognize the goodness, brothers and sisters, and the severity. God will be good to you if you allow him, but he will be very severe to you if you make him. And this is the point he's making in this situation, dealing with Israel versus the Gentile. He's showing that we can see both sides of God. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God. On who? How? Go ahead.
On them which fell, severity.
On the Israelites, the ones that fell, severity. Go ahead.
But toward thee, goodness.
But toward the Gentiles, who you open the door and let them come in to try to get salvation, goodness. Go ahead.
If thou continue in this goodness.
But you got to continue in this goodness, else what?
Otherwise, thou also shall be cut off.
Well, God is not to be played with. Otherwise, you'll be cut off too. He cut them off. He ain't playing with nobody. And then, and now keep in mind, all this time, Paul is saying, even though he cut some Israelites off, he still ain't done with Israel, because I'm Israel. And I'm the ones God set up to preach to you all. That's what he's saying. And then eventually, he going to bring all of Israel back, and it's going to be like it's supposed to be. Israel going to get what he been looking for. Go ahead, 23.
And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in.
Why?
For God is able to graft them in again.
So, and the Israelites, all they got to do is repent. All they got to do is repent. See, so how you going to write off them because they messed up? It's just like I don't write off. I know it's a whole lot of hard-headed, hardcore Israelite brothers out here. Saying a lot of crazy stuff, arguing about stuff that don't matter. Don't understand certain doctrinal teachings. But hey, I know it's still a chance they can repent. So I don't write them off because I know it's still a chance. They can repent. And that's easy to see because he going to get the same example that I can relate to. If God can bring some Gentiles, some other people from another nation, and let them repent come in, I know he can let some hard-headed Israelites repent. And they can come back home. And that's what he's about to say. He said, they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in for what?
For God is able to graft them in again.
God is able to graft them in again. Keep reading.
For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were graft contrary to nature into a good olive tree.
See, the Gentiles, he's saying, look, if you was cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, you come from a whole nother foreign tree and grafted into a good olive tree. So you left the wild olive tree, got put on to the good olive tree, which is Israel's tree. Belong to Israel. They the branches on it. How much more what?
How much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree.
Unto their own olive tree. See, it's Israel's olive tree in the first place. Gentiles come from a wild source. Oh, another, and became a part of it, which is fine. The Lord allowed that. But don't try to take over the tree.
Right.
That's the problem with Gentiles, even to this day, because Gentiles rule the world, but you can't rule this.
Mm-mm.
God gave this to Israel. This is Israel's olive tree. See, that's the thing that happened with the Romans. They went haywire. They was dealing with it. Now all of a sudden, Israel don't know what they doing. I can take this, so we can run this better than Israel. No, you can't. He didn't give it to you to run. Go ahead, 25.
For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery.
You see, he said, look, I don't want you to be ignorant of this mystery. I want to share something with you. What?
Lest ye should be wise in your own conceit.
Don't be puffed up and thinking you smart and you not. Why?
That blindness in part has happened to Israel. Until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
See, he telling these Gentiles that, look, don't think Israel done away with. Israel, God still got them some now. And he going to fix all of them in the end while it's said and done. And the ones that won't be fixed, he going to get rid of them anyway. So, when it's all said and done, all Israel that's left going to be straight with God. So this is what he tells them. Don't be puffed up and wise in your own conceit. Don't fool yourself. Israel is only blind in part right now, first of all. So, yeah, we messed up. Like I mentioned, some of the Hebrews out here, they own something else. And as a whole, all these Israelites flooding churches and all the other places in the street, not serving God. Hey, they messed up right now. But God still got some Israelites like us that see the truth of the matter and walking in it. So that's why he said, don't be blind, wise and young. See, Israel is blind in part right now. Until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Until the Gentiles' time is up. Their full time is complete. And then the Lord going to fix the whole thing for Israel. So no way, no how Israel could be done away with, brother. So read verse 26 and this is it.
And so all Israel shall be saved.
To sum it up, no, Israel hadn't been cast away. We going through the ringer right now, but we still got some on tap until he bring all of them back. So all Israel shall be saved, as is what?
As it is written. There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
See, the deliverer, which is Jesus. And he come to Israel. He said Jacob, which is what Israel's name was before it got changed to Israel. Jacob. The deliverer, he said, Israel only have I known. That's why Jesus said, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's what Jesus said. But now, let's go to, I mentioned this, let's go to Jeremiah 30. Jeremiah 30. See, and when you understand that, you understand this. Jeremiah 30, make it 31. Jeremiah 31. Pick it up at verse 1.
At the same time, saith the Lord, will I be the God of all the families of Israel.
Oh, this is when he bring Israel back. At the same time, said the Lord, will I be the God to all the families of Israel. That's why I understand why Paul said, so all Israel shall be saved. The ones that don't want to be saved. It don't mean no matter what you do, if you're Israelite, you're going to be saved. Because he'll kill you. And all that's left going to be saved.
That's true.
At the same time, said the Lord, will I be the God of all the families of Israel. And they going to be what?
They shall be my people.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord, the people which were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness. Even Israel, when I went to cause them to rest.
See, this future. That's how we know we're going back to the wilderness. Just like he took Israel out of Egypt, took us to the desert, we're going back again. That's the way God do things. He's going to cleanse us up in the desert. Go ahead.
The Lord have appeared of old unto me.
See, this is what Paul understood. This is why he could share all that with those Romans. The Lord appeared of old unto me. What did he say?
Saying, yeah, I have loved thee with an everlasting love.
Talking about Israel. Go ahead.
Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn thee.
What he going to do again?
Again I will build thee, and thou shalt be built, O virgin of Israel.
So he going to rebuild us. We scattered into slavery, lost and turned out right now. But he going to rebuild us. Go ahead.
Thou shalt again be adorned with thy tabrets, and shall go forth in the dances of them that make merry.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt yet plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. The planter shall plant, and shall eat them as common things.
Go ahead.
For there shall be a day that the watchmen upon the Mount Ephraim shall cry, Arise, arise ye, and let us go up to Zion unto the Lord our God.
See, it's just a matter of time. The Lord going to redeem Israel from this captivity that we in and from this blindness that we under. Because we blind as a bat right now, as a whole, as a people. All these curses on us, and we still in captivity and don't even know that God done it to us for our disobedience, and don't even know that we the people of the Bible. That's blind. That's why he said in Isaiah 42, who is blind but my servant, and deaf as my messenger that I sent? Nobody blind like us. Go ahead, finish that.
Verse 7. For thus saith the Lord, sing with gladness for Jacob.
Now that's everybody. Sing with gladness for Jacob. Because the Lord about to do a thing real soon for Israel or Jacob. He used them interchangeably. So he telling everybody. That's why I say Paul made it clear that it's going to benefit the whole world when Israel come back to their rightful position and place. For thus saith the Lord, sing with gladness for Jacob. Go ahead.
And shout among the chief of the nations.
And shout among the chief of the nations.
Publish ye. Praise ye. And say, O Lord, save thy people, the remnant of Israel.
See, he said, publish ye, praise ye, and say. This is what everybody should be saying. O Lord, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. And what the Lord going to do in the final now? Because, see, we was in slavery in Egypt, one country enslaved. And the only way you can identify Israel to this day is not the Jews that's say they in the promised land. Now, the real Jews or Israelites are scattered in worldwide slavery. But we're going to come home from this. Go ahead, read it. Verse 8.
Verse 8. Behold, I will bring them from the north country.
See, he said, I'm going to bring them from the north country. Where else?
And gather them from the coast of the earth.
And gather them from the coast of the earth. Go ahead.
And with them, the blind and the lame. The woman with child and her that travaileth with child together.
Go ahead.
A great company shall return thither. They shall come with weeping, and with supplications will I lead them.
Go ahead.
I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble.
Why is that?
For I'm a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn.
See, this is what the Lord telling the whole world. He got some more to say, verse 10.
Hear the word of the Lord, O ye nations.
He's telling it to the nations. Hear the word of the Lord, O ye nations. What?
And declare it in the isles afar off.
And say what?
And say, he that scattered Israel will gather him.
He that scattered Israel will gather Israel. And do what?
And keep him as a shepherd doth his flock.
See, this is just a matter of time. So we know we're going to get gathered from slavery. Thank God we ain't going to be in slavery permanently. Because most black people don't even know that you still a slave. You wonder why your kids get shot down in the street like dogs and all this bad stuff happened to you because you still a slave. You in somebody else's country. You wasn't brought here to find a better life. You was brought here to make somebody else's life better. And that has not changed. Thankfully, things have got less. The hardships been less than it used to be, but it's not over, obviously. It's not over. And we still haven't went home. You scattered. But the Lord said He's going to gather them and keep them as a shepherd doth his flock. Go ahead, verse 11. He's going to tell you a little more about it.
For the Lord hath redeemed Jacob.
He talked like he done it because All the Lord got to do is say it. It's a matter of time. Go ahead.
And ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he.
That's what he going to do. Go ahead.
Therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion, and shall flow together to the goodness of the Lord.
Go ahead.
For wheat, and for wine, and for oil, and for the young of the flock and of the herd. And their souls shall be as a watered garden.
Go ahead.
And they shall not sorrow any more at all. Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both young men and old together. For I will turn their mourning into joy, and will comfort them.
Go ahead.
And will make them rejoice from their sorrow.
Go ahead.
And I will satiate the soul of the priest with fatness, and my people shall be satisfied with my goodness, saith the Lord.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rahel weeping for her children refused to be comforted for her children, because they were not. Thus saith the Lord, refrain thy voice from weeping, and thine eyes from tears. For thy work shall be rewarded, saith the Lord. And they shall come again from the land of the enemy.
See, we going to come again from the land of the enemy. This is the hope we got. Because you're still in the land of the enemy now, brother and sister. Don't forget that. One more verse, verse 18.
Skip 17.
Oh, okay, yes.
17.
I'm sorry, yep.
And there is hope in thine end.
And there's hope in thine end. This is it. There's hope in thine end that what?
Saith the Lord, that thy children shall come again to their own border.
See, and first we got to realize that we do got our own border, because we think we just lost and don't even have a homeland. But with that said, we're going to end it on that note, and we're going to open the floor for another question. Hold on one second. I don't know if we got any questions on online, on Facebook. So that was a little bit on Romans 11, what Paul was dealing with between Israel not being cast away and letting the Romans know that, letting the Gentiles know that, so they don't get carried away with their foolishness of taking over and acting like Israel didn't matter anymore to God. So now, I guess we'll open the phone. I don't see no, I can't find no, I can't see if there's any questions on Facebook or YouTube. So, let me hit this phone line. One second. Yeah. Okay. Still can't see if there's questions on here. Okay. So we got the spirit. Okay, I can see something now. Hold on. Okay, let me read some of this. I can find it now. This is YouTube, usually Facebook, but Tony Martin, peace, brother. Elizabeth Sterling, peace, brother Elijah. Nathan Israel, peace, brother Elijah from Manchester, United Kingdom. Peace, brother. With so much rape and then intermarrying over the last 400 years, etc., in Jamaica, How can I be sure whether I am physical Israel or not? Okay, that's a good question. So this is brother from Manchester, United Kingdom. And he said, let me read it one more time, with so much rape and then intermarrying over the last 400 years, etc., in Jamaica, and you could, in other places too. How can I be sure whether I'm physical Israel or not? Okay. So, turn to Deuteronomy 28. Turn to Deuteronomy 28. And we'll see something the Lord said. What's going to happen to Israel. Deuteronomy 28, and pick it up at verse 15. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. Okay, read it.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Okay, so now the Lord promised Israel that if they didn't obey, all these curses was going to come upon them and overtake them. Skip down to verse 25, and let's get into it a little bit. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them.
So you're going to be smitten before your enemies. You're going to go out and fight them, and you're going to be running. Go ahead.
And shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
And you're going to be removed. That means taken captive as slaves into all the kingdoms of the earth. Skip over to verse 29 and go ahead.
And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore.
See, this is what he's saying. But keep in mind, brothers and sisters, he's saying this to Israel. He said, you're going to grope at noonday as the blind groping in the dark. You're going to try to feel your way around. Try to figure out a way. You're going to march on Washington. You're going to do this and do that. That's groping. Trying to find a way out of the darkness of this curse. And you still not prospering. And you still, he said, going to be only oppressed and crushed, he said. Always. And nobody going to save you out of this situation. Verse 30.
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her.
So this is some of the stuff, kind of like, he said rape and intermarrying and all of that. This went on wholesale across the board for Israel, where you could have a wife and another man just sleep with. And we know the master had children by some of the Israelite slave women. Had children by him. Obviously, this situation, because he's telling you this is an in-your-face situation. It ain't like somebody got to sneak in the back door on you on this. Not on this. They not sneaking. He said, you going to have a wife and another man will lie. That only in history has happened to one group of people where, and we got a clear record of it. They still got movies about it where you got a wife and the master will come and take her in your face and sleep with her. It only happened to one group of people in history. And this is what the Bible already have foretold. Thou shalt betroth a wife and another man shall lie with her. It can't just be adultery because that happened to everybody. He's talking about particular curses on this people. Go ahead.
Thou shalt build an house and thou shalt not dwell therein.
You shall build a house and you're not going to dwell therein. Go ahead.
Thou shalt plant a vineyard and shall not gather the grapes thereof.
You're going to build a house and you're not going to be able to sleep in it. It's not going to be for your benefit. He's not talking about just brick masons and stuff like that. He's talking about when you forced to labor and you don't get no benefits. That's why he said plant a vineyard, you're not going to eat the grapes thereof. Keep going. Let's see if it get better or worse. Go ahead.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes.
Right in front of your face. That's what this is. Go ahead.
And thou shalt not eat thereof.
They gonna kill it right in front of you. You can't have none. Well, that's my ox. Shut up. Go ahead.
Thine eyes shall be violently taken away from before thy face.
Violently taken from you. Go ahead.
And shall not be restored to thee.
Uh-huh.
Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them.
But not just your animals and your livestock. It get worse than that. What?
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
Your sons and your daughters will be taken from you and given to somebody else in your face. They ain't got to steal them at night. Go ahead.
And thine eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand.
And no might in your hand to do anything about it. So now these is curses that's on Israel. Go ahead to verse, save a little time, verse, well, let's read 37. Let's see what else happened. Go ahead.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
So the Lord scattering you among nations in slavery, and when you get there, you're going to be an astonishment, a proverb, and a bad word. You're going to have nicknames and bad words talked about you, said about you across the board. All kind of little proverbial sayings among these nations. Skip to verse 41 and read that.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them.
Why?
For they shall go into captivity.
See? Captivity. 45. Read 45.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
So this is what the Lord said would happen to his people Israel. Now, being that the Lord says it's going to happen to Israel, because I understand the question, you might say, well, it's not answering the question. It's answering the question because the Lord prophesied that this would happen to Israel. So this is not going to happen to wholesale people across the board. In other words, you're not going to find yourself, it's not going to be, the question he asked is centering around some other people possibly, I guess, looking like they could be Israelites color-wise. Looking like they can be Israelites color-wise. And, but not sure. How can he be sure he's Israel with all the intermarrying and rape that went on like here when the master took the woman? Well, 9 out of 10, you could be sure. Anything is possible, but this is not on the big scale that we would like to put it on. It's not on the big scale because at the same time the master might have slept with the man's wife, the man was still sleeping with his wife having children. So it wasn't like, this is it's just unrecognizable no more. No, the master wanted the slaves to have children because that was more money for him. So he wanted the brother to sleep with the sister too, to have some children, because the more children they had, that was more slaves he had, that was more money he had. So my point is, the master sleeping and producing children that could look like Israelites and intermarrying, that is minute on the scale. And it have to be, because the Lord not going to let, because if the Gentile slept with a sister, then that child is a Gentile. We understand that. And the Lord not just going to let wholesale Gentiles, they not Israel. Right. So they can't be cursed like that.
Right.
They can't be cursed like that. Now you might have somebody slip through the crack, but it's not going to be unrecognizable where you got all these Gentiles mistaken for Israel and they under curse just like Israel. It's just not going to be like that. It's just not going to be like that. Even you see the difference, it's just like, how is it? How is it, brothers and sisters? The Lord is on top of this thing. How is it that you got Hamites just as black as Israel? We all black, But yet the Lord is able to single Israel out and make sure this black people get cursed and not all these other black people. Right. That's sure the Lord ain't playing with this thing. Right. Sure. The Lord cursing Israel. So everybody else can't be fitting the curse. So 9 out of 10, if you in the curse situation, if you under the curse, and you kind of looking the part, just like it can be some Israelites looking white. Can be some, that could be a possibility as well. So, but this is not going to be no wholesale problem, in other words, because the Lord intention is to curse Israel, and He not slipping up. He not letting Israelites slip through the crack and not getting cursed like that. And He not letting a whole lot of Gentiles or even Hamites get cursed, because that's not His purpose. That's not His plan. His plan is to curse Israel. So that's, like I said, that's not as big as we might make it out to be, because, hey, I would venture to say 99-1, the slaves were still producing babies more than the master was producing with slaves, because there's a whole bunch of slaves. If he got a bunch of slaves, he might be sleeping with a girl or two, a woman or two, but it's not that type of party where it's unrecognizable. So, and that's it. The Lord is cursing Israel. That's what you got to remember. That's the Lord's purpose, plan for disobedience. So it can't be everybody else slipping in that crack. Okay, let me see what else we got here. See if we got another one to get to. Jackie Britt, peace. We're in Donald. Good job, brother. Julius Armstrong. Peace, Israel from Jacksonville. Sister Shonda. Shalom, family. One love. David Ben Israel. Shalom. Miss Pika. Judy Wild. I did not know Brother Elijah also teach on Wednesday. Is this Wednesday teaching new? No, this Wednesday is not new. We just have different brothers that do it every Wednesday, because we got teachers all over the country. So we take turns. So I do it approximately every 7 weeks, but other teachers do it. Next week, a brother from California might be doing it. Next week, after that, a brother from Atlanta might be doing it. A brother from Philly might be doing it. Some other brothers here in the Chicago, Gary, Indiana area might be doing it. So we take turns doing it. Okay, it's supposed to be Q&A. Yeah, some of the questions take a while to answer, brother. David Ben Israel, with those who are raised in the second resurrection, fate be the lake of fire? That's a good question. Okay, that's all. I missed a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, keep up with this. So anyway, so David Ben Israel, with those who are raised in the second resurrection, faith be the lake of fire? Good question. Heard that before. Let's turn to Revelation 20. Cut right to the chase on that. Revelation 20. So these questions are off of YouTube. So that's come up. That's doctrine. Some people have that doctrine that it's two resurrections, and everybody that come up in the second resurrection is going to the lake of fire. But let's see. Matter of fact, before we read Revelation 20, keep your finger there. We're going to come back. Let's go. I mentioned this earlier. Let's read it in Luke 12. Luke 12. Give you an example. You can't never, we got to let God handle His business. God created the whole world. He know everybody. He know everybody's opportunity and the whole 9 yards. Luke 12, and we're going to pick it up at verse 40. Luke 12 and verse 40. Go ahead.
Be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when ye think not. Then Peter said unto him, Lord, speakest thou this parable unto us, or even to all?
So, first of all, it's all about the Messiah coming back. And he going to surprise people when he come. He even called it like a thief in the night. So he said, well, be ready. How you be ready? Keep your garments white, doing his will, keeping his commandments. That's what will have you ready. But go ahead.
And the Lord said, who then is that faithful and wise steward, whom his Lord shall make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you, that he will make him ruler over all that he hath.
Okay, now skip down to verse 46 and go ahead. Well, keep reading. I'm sorry. Just keep reading. We'll read into it. Go ahead.
Okay, 45. But and if that servant say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to beat the men servants and maidens, and to eat and drink, and to be drunken, the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware.
So now, if somebody like us that's doing God's will, doing our best to do his will right now, and then all of a sudden we get tired of doing his will down the road, we decide, look, I want to go back and have some fun. I'll hang out, do some of the stuff I used to do. We can do that. That's up to us. That's so you don't get saved at no point. If you were saved and couldn't get cut off, we wouldn't be reading this, brothers and sisters. He said, what if that servant say in his heart, my Lord delayed is coming? You know, you might not say wait, delayed is coming. You get tired of waiting on the Lord. You get tired of serving the Lord. And you begin to beat the men, servants, and maids, and to eat and drink and to be drunk. You just back out there, or out there. Maybe you never was out there like that, but anyway, you out there, you're doing wrong. What's going to happen? Verse 46.
The Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him.
The Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him. In other words, the Lord going to sneak up and catch you. He going to catch you dirty. Go ahead.
And at an hour when he is not aware.
And do what?
And will cut him in sunder.
And cut him in sunder. So much for being saved. Go ahead.
And will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers.
See, why he got to say appoint him his portion? He going to get the reward as unbelievers. But he was a believer at one time. That show you how serious this is. Go ahead.
47. And that servant which knew his Lord's will.
And now, the one that knew, this is the same one that knew his Lord's will, but what?
And prepared not himself.
But didn't prepare himself. Go ahead.
Neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes.
He's going to be whooped with many stripes. But now, on the other hand, and this is why, the reason why I read this, because this would be a candidate for the second resurrection. Not necessarily the first resurrection. This person here at verse 48 will be a candidate for the second resurrection. Go ahead.
But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes.
He that knew not. He didn't know God's will. See, God take into account your ability on everything. This is what we was talking about on, honor your mother and father. Well, if you didn't know your mother and father, you didn't know them, you didn't have that. God can't hold you accountable for that one way or another. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes. They did some things wrong, but they didn't know certain things. Go ahead.
For unto whomsoever much is given.
Well, he said they're going to be beaten with few stripes. That's some mercy shown. They're going to be beaten with few stripes. Then he go on for unto whomsoever much is given. Go ahead.
Of him shall much be required.
See, to whom much is given, much is required. Go ahead.
And to whom men have committed much, of him will they ask the more.
Okay, so that shows you some leniency on those that didn't know certain things about God's will. Let's go to Revelation 20 now. Revelation 20. And we're going to cut right to the chase. This is the people that come up in the first resurrection. Notice how they are. Verse 6. Revelation 20 and 6. Go ahead.
Blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection.
See, they straight. We know that. We understand that. That's why the brother went to the second resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that got part in the first resurrection. They straight. So that's why I say the people in Luke who he talked about that didn't know his will, did commit things worthy of stripes, it's not likely they're going to be a candidate for the first resurrection. They're going to have to wait till the second. But it can be some leniency in the second because they didn't know certain things. Like we might know about the Passover, the holy days, and, a lot of the technical things, and we need to know and do it. But somebody 200 years ago possibly didn't know about that. Mm-hmm. Somebody grandmother, great-great-grandmother, they didn't know about that. But she knew she shouldn't commit adultery. She knew she shouldn't steal. And maybe she did that. But maybe she didn't even know of her opportunity to keep the Sabbath day. If she didn't know, then the Lord can have some mercy on that. Because he said they did commit things worthy of stripes, but they're going to be beaten with few stripes. That's leniency.
Right.
That's leniency. He's going to show them some mercy. So blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection. On such what?
On such the second death hath no power. Mm-hmm. But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years.
And they're going to reign with him 1,000 years. They're going to rule with him 1,000 years. Okay, that's them. But now, skip over to after the 1,000 years, and let's see what happened. Yeah, verse, read verse 7, because Satan is out there.
And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
So this is the people doing this 1,000 years. They ruling with Christ. Satan going to be in his prison. And after 1,000 years, he going to be let out. Skip to verse 10. Go ahead.
And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them.
Go ahead.
And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, and according to their works.
And the dead were judged out of those things written in the book. Now this is the rest of the dead. Because if we didn't read, we just jumped in at verse 6. If we would have read verse 5 early, he said, the people that came in the first resurrection concerning them, and the other people, he said, but the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. So the rest of the dead can't come back to after that 1,000 years. The people that come up in the first resurrection, they got it made in the shade, blessed and holy. They got it made. But now these people, pay attention, brothers and sisters, these people, when they come up, it said at verse 12, he saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things written in the books according to their works. So it's not just a formality. I mean, he is literally judging people according to what they did. So this lets you know, obviously this thing could go either way. Because if they was all condemned, he could just write them all out. All y'all, everybody over there, y'all condemned. We ain't got to talk about it. So he's not going through this formality and everybody that come up going in the lake of fire. They just don't stand to reason. Right. Just don't stand to reason. Verse 13.
And the sea gave up the dead which were in it.
See, he bringing back death from everywhere. The sea gave up the dead. Wherever you died at, you coming back if you didn't come in the first resurrection. And that was only righteous people. Go ahead.
And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them.
Wherever you died at, if you're in the grave, if you just got blew up, blown to 1,000,000 pieces, he going to bring you back. Go ahead.
And they were judged every man according to their works.
Every man got judged according to their work. Then what?
And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death.
Go ahead.
And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire.
That lets you know it must going to be somebody found written in the book of life at this time. Because there's no need to say it, whosoever. If you should have just said, and all these people going to the lake of fire.
Right.
But it said, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life. was cast into the lake of fire. So the answer to that question is, yeah, not all the people in the second resurrection will not go to the lake of fire. That's the answer to that question. All of them will not end up in the lake of fire. Let's see what else. If we got something else here. Okay. Let me see. that sister Alice from LA said she just stumbled into YouTube and got her question answered. So that's how the Lord worked, though. That's how the Lord be doing things. Let me see. She did navigating. Okay. Let me see what else we got here. I'm going to take another phone line in a minute because I know I got Jessica want to ask a phone question. Are there any others? Let me see. Okay. L. Elizabeth, are there any other scriptures besides Jeremiah 10 to explain to people why we don't do Christmas? Also, what is a good response to people who insist on wishing you Merry Christmas? ICOJ Philly. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Sister Hadassah. She was thinking about the question about honoring your mother and father. It's a peace. And this fits. I'm going to try to get this out the way too. Jackie Britt, speaking of Jeremiah 10, can you help me with verse 5? Be not afraid of them that they cannot do evil. Also, it's not doing good. Okay, that's good. So I can get both of them at the same time. So, Sister L. Elizabeth, are there any other scriptures which Jeremiah 10, and what do you say? Okay. So, yeah, I mean, concerning not doing Christmas, the scriptures is plain. There's plenty things that you can, deal with in the general sense, and that is that it's just another tradition. You can prove it's a tradition. We read a little bit of Matthew 15 earlier, where Jesus warns against tradition of men, and that's all Christmas is. But specifically, on it, you got the attributes of it, of course, from Jeremiah 10 on what people are doing. So let's read that, Jeremiah 10, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1 because we can answer Sister Jackie's question as well, besides Sister Elizabeth. Jeremiah 10, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Jeremiah 10 and verse 1. Go ahead and read it, my brother.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
Okay, so first of all, he telling, because he deal with Israel, he telling Israel, don't follow these other people who doing their thing. And this is what Israel doing wholesale to this day. We do it wholesale. We following everybody else, but what the God of this Bible said. And we following people and how they following their gods. Mainly in this country, we following Gentiles, and the Lord said the Gentiles worship devils.
Right.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto your house of Israel. Thus said the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. That's just mean nations. And be not dismayed. He give you specifics. Be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at they worried about what the sun and the moon is doing and figuring out ways to worship. That's why they got sun worship, Sunday. That's why everything is on Sunday now. That's why everything revolves around the sun now. Because they watching, see how great the sun is in the sky, and came up with customs to worship it. The Lord said, don't be dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen dismayed at them. Verse 3.
For the customs of the people are vain.
See, so you see the customs that they got. The Lord said they vain customs. And what's this one about?
For one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with an axe. They deck it with silver and with gold.
See, same thing today. They make artificial trees now, but they still get some live ones, and they got lots all over the place. Even around this Chicago area, you gonna be driving by, they can pop it up, corner lots with all kind of trees. They done got literal trees that they done cut down out the woods, and they got them in these lots, out in these lots for you to come buy one and put it up in your house, not even knowing why do you got a tree in your house. And this is old false idolatry, false worship. This idolatry. So, but to answer the question in the first place, once you show them that this is a vain custom, you could just go further to show them how, the Lord just don't like idolatry. Period. It's idolatry. You can tell them, of course, well, obviously Jesus is proven that Jesus was not born on December 25th. Can't prove that at gunpoint that he was born on that day. So it's stuff like that you can show, not even from the scripture. But we're going to show you something else you can give them to, a direct hitter. So he said, the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the workman of the hands of the workman with the axe. They literally still doing that, even though they do have some artificial ones now. Go ahead, verse 4, read that again.
They deck it with silver and with gold.
They deck it with silver and with gold. They decorate it with stuff. Still decorating it to this day.
Yep.
And you imagine always, back in the day, everybody didn't have silver and gold. They put whatever they had on it, because that's what they do nowadays. Put some little silver sprinklers on it. Same thing, little baubles on it. Little bulbs on it. Same thing. The key is, deck means decorate. You decorate. You getting the tree, putting it in your house, and decorating it. Go ahead.
They fasten it with nails and with hammers.
They fasten it with nails and because you done cut it down, so now you got to make it stand up. And literally, people still do this. They just got stands for them nowadays to put them in, to make them stand straight up. But I know some people, their house was crooked, the floor was unshaped, and they literally had to nail something because it'll still tip over. So they literally had to put a board and nail it across there to make it stand up. And we go through this stuff. They deck it with silver and with gold. Go ahead.
They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not.
See, they fasten it with nails and hammers that it don't move. And that's what one of the brothers and sisters told me they did to live in Gary, Indiana. Right now today, they say they had to do that in their house years ago. Go ahead, verse 5.
They are upright as the palm tree.
They are upright as the palm tree. Go ahead.
But speak not.
But they can't speak. So, you got this thing you done cut out the floor to put in your house. Yeah, it's upright. This tree you done put in your house is upright as a palm tree, because this is the part Sister Jackie wanted to know about. But they speak not because, hey, you making a god out of something. But it can't talk. Go ahead.
They must needs be born.
They must needs be born. It can't do nothing. You got to carry it where it goes. It can't do nothing for you. Why are you going through all this for a tree? This is idolatry. And people are saying to men, no, brother, we not worshiping the tree. We don't worship no tree. Well, you're going through an awful lot for that tree not to be worshiping. And then you're going to go stay up late, buy all this stuff, stay up late, decorating it, fixing it up, be wore out. Then you're going to put gifts all up on it and bow down to it to get the gifts out of it. You going through an awful lot. He said, no, we ain't worship. Even got songs. He said, it's about Jesus. Why are you singing to the Christmas tree? Old Christmas tree, old Christmas tree. Seems like it's about the tree. Mm-hmm. That's why all that other stuff comes. Yuletide and Yule log. All that. Mistletoes. You got wreaths you got to put on the door. All this stuff. To celebrate the sun. So he called it vain custom. Then he said they are upright as a palm tree, but they speak not. They must needs be born. Why?
Because they cannot go.
Because they cannot go. They can't do nothing. You got to carry them. They can't go nowhere. And people say they not worship. And then the sad thing is, people say, when you tell them it's too much to do what God say do. That's too hard to do what the Bible say. The Bible say, for instance, the next feast we're going to keep is the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We're going to keep that. And we're going to clean our house out of all the leavened bread when that time comes. But I talked to people when we was doing it. They said, what you doing? Well, we keeping the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And they got out of breath. And, I ain't got no time to be worried about no leavened bread. Well, you had time to go get you a tree, didn't you? Mm-hmm. You had time to do that. That took some time. Yeah. So it's just who you going to honor. We honoring what God said in the Bible. And you honoring some man came up with. And you got to go through this. You serving this folly. Because you got to do it. So that's why he said they are upright as the palm tree. They speak not. They must needs be born because they cannot go. Go ahead.
Be not afraid of them.
Don't be afraid. See, it's nothing wrong with a tree. Trees are good. God made trees. They good. But they don't need to put one in your house. Trees stay on the outside. That's what God had them, man. He ain't had them in your house. I mean, you want to have a plant or something, but you ain't got, don't make no God out of it. Go ahead.
For they cannot do evil.
See, ain't nothing they can do. And that's good to understand, too, because people have literally been so caught up on this, they feel like if they don't do it, they shortchanging God. You know, you've had people didn't have enough money or the means to get a tree. Oh, I wish we can get a tree for our family. And feel bad about it because you wasn't able to get a tree. You didn't need no dang on tree. So don't be afraid of them. They can't do evil. They can't do nothing. Neither also is it them to do good because it's just a tree. Go ahead.
Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good.
Go ahead, verse 6.
For as much as there is none like unto thee, O Lord, thou art great, and thy name is great in might.
See, that's who you need to be honoring. Go ahead.
Who would not fear thee, O King of nations? Mm-hmm. For to thee doth it appertain. Mm-hmm. For as much as among all the wise men of the nations, and in all their kingdoms, there is none like unto thee.
There is none like God. Go ahead.
But they are altogether brutish and foolish. Mm-hmm. The stock is a doctrine of vanity.
See, the stock. The stock of what? The stock of a tree. The stock is a doctrine of vanities. And this is what Jesus said in Matthew 15. He said, in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines, the commandments of men. So that's why I said that's a good hookup with this, because we're talking about a doctrine that they didn't gave you to worship God. But he said the stock, you worshiping the stock of a tree. It's a doctrine of vanity. But let's go on to Isaiah 44. And concerning the rest of the question that Sister Elizabeth had, because I should have answered Jackie's question too. Isaiah 44. Concerning the rest of her question, you know, people saying Merry Christmas. I just, you know, if I'm doing business or something, you know, I used to deliver to stores, make all kind of deliveries to different places, and people say it. I ain't got time to say it back. I ain't saying it back, and I don't have time to address it every time because, you know, it's just in past. I'll be like, take care, whatever. Yeah, have a good weekend. Yeah. I ain't got time for that. Now, if it's some time and somebody, because people catch it, boy, they be waiting on it. They be waiting on you to say it back. Yeah. And if you in a little more longer conversation with them, you know, and got some time, yeah, we can talk about it because, you know, I've had people ask me, well, you know, I said Merry Christmas. I don't celebrate it. That's why. That's why I said have a good day. I don't celebrate it. Now, we want to talk about that. If I got some time, you got some time, we can get into that. Well, I just, in general, I just bypass it. And I ain't got no time to explain to everybody because you'll be doing that 50 times a day, won't get nothing done. So I just bypass it. They say, Merry Christmas. Take care. Have a good one. Take care. If it's about a weekend, have a good weekend. Whatever. Like I said, if we got some time, we can discuss it. But generally, that's not always the case. So here in Isaiah 44, you get another example of this bad. And I'm going to get right to it. Save a little time. Isaiah 44 and verse 14. Go ahead.
He heweth him down cedars.
Now that's a tree. Go ahead.
And taketh the cypress and the oak, which he strengtheneth for himself among the trees of the forest. He planteth an ash, and the rain doth nourish.
See, this old-fashioned worship, brothers and sisters. They was doing this back in the day, and we got the same customs in these modern times, and they just attribute it to Jesus, but it don't have nothing to do with Jesus. That is obvious. Go ahead.
Then shall it be for a man to burn, for he will take thereof and warm himself.
Now part of this tree, they use this tree for everything, because you need trees to, chop wood and warm yourself. Put it in your fireplace. You use the same tree for that. Go ahead.
Yeah. He kindleth it and baketh bread.
And then you can cook by it. Go ahead.
Yeah. He maketh a god and worshipeth it.
And then he make a god and worship. Talking about this tree. Go ahead.
He maketh it a graven image and falleth down thereto.
And they do that. That's what they doing when they put them gifts under that. What's the purpose of all that? Why we got to put gifts under the tree and then get them out of there later on, like it grew under there or something? I don't know what they doing. But go ahead.
He burneth part thereof in the fire.
He burned part of the tree in the fire. Go ahead.
With part thereof he eateth flesh. He roasteth roast and is satisfied.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he warmeth himself and saith, Aha, I am warm. I have seen the fire.
That you use that wood, same wood from the same tree, to warm yourself. Go ahead.
And the residue thereof he maketh a god.
And the rest of it he maketh a god. Go ahead.
Even his graven image. He falleth down unto it and worshipeth it.
Go ahead.
And prayeth unto it. And saith, Deliver me, for thou art my God.
Go ahead.
They have not known nor understood. For he hath shut their eyes that they cannot see. And their hearts that they cannot understand.
Go ahead.
And none considereth in his heart.
What?
Neither is there any knowledge nor understanding to say.
Nobody don't pay attention to all what they doing. Even just going, getting a tree, putting it in your house. You need to just consider that. Why are you getting a tree and putting it in your house? This is what you should explain to people. Ask them. Explain it to me. See, sometimes we be so much on the defense trying to defend why we not doing something, why we not celebrating. Make them explain why they doing some lunacy. Why are you putting a tree in your house to begin with? They ain't considering. None considereth in his heart, neither is there knowledge nor understanding to say, I have burned part of it in the fire. Go ahead.
Yeah. Also I have baked bread upon the coals thereof.
Use this tree for everything. Go ahead.
I have roasted flesh and eaten it. And shall I make the residue thereof an abomination?
Shall I make the residue abomination? That's what it is you put in your house and decorate. It's an abomination. Go ahead.
Shall I fall down to the stock of a tree?
Shall I fall down to the stock of a tree? We talking tree worship. And you can't tell me you're not worshiping because you putting in too much time and effort into it.
Right.
That's what you doing. Go over people, just go over relatives' house. You go over there, then they want, let's take a picture in front of the tree.
Right.
Really? Don't make no sense. Crazy. So now, hopefully that answered that question. those questions, and we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna open the phone line up, cause y'all be making a lot of noise on there.
Everyone else is now muted. Everyone else is now unmuted. Hello. Hi, Brother Elijah.
Hey, peace. So this is that Jessica? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question, brother.
Yeah, go ahead. State your name and city.
It's Jessica from Los Angeles.
Okay, go ahead, Sister Jessica. How you doing?
Good. I have a question just about, because it's just so much confusion and so many different doctrines. But I had a question on the Apocrypha. I was gonna wait to ask the question, but you're doing Q&A today. I was gonna wait till I actually read the Apocrypha on my own, because I know that we don't deal with the Apocrypha, so that's why I never ever looked into it. Just we didn't never deal with it, so I was like, okay. But so many people say things about the Apocrypha, so I just decided to order it so I could just read it on my own, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So and just I wanted to know, because I understand that the Apocrypha was a part of the King James Bible, and then they took it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to know, just from I know you read it before, is there any truth in the Apocrypha? Because I understand that in the Apocrypha they talk about one of the feasts that's in the winter. Supposedly the Apocrypha is the only book that tells you how to keep this feast in the winter. And also, they like to run to, just dealing with people, they like to run the first Maccabees and try to say that there's no salvation for the Gentiles there. So it sounds like it's a little bit of truth in the Apocrypha. And also, I know it also talks about the Greek captivity. It tells us how to keep the Feast of Dedication. So I'm just trying to see, how do you discern between books? You know, so many different books that there are.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the bottom line is, I'm gonna mute that.
Everyone else is now muted.
So, that come up often. So let's just read this. I read this recently in a lesson we did in Ecclesiastes 12. So we'll read a few things and then take a look at it. I read a lot of the Apocrypha because it's a number of books. The Apocrypha is not just one book. It's a number of books. You mentioned Maccabees. But when you find out, and again, being that we know God is in control, if it was going to be in the main Bible that we all have, and you can still get it, like you talked about ordering it, so it's not somewhere lost. So to me, it's kind of obvious that God didn't want it to be in here. When you talk about 1611, well, how long was that anyway? This is when things were just getting started with the English Bible. They wasn't, they was just translating the English Bible around that time when King James did it. A few people tried to do it before. They was trying to stop them from doing it. So when you say, well, it was in the 1611, well, all this was being formatted, at that time. So, but it's obvious to me that God, as a whole, didn't want it with the rest of what we got. And by the fact that it's not there, and when I looked at it, I can see why. I can see too many discrepancies. So even if it's some part that makes sense, it's not, when you got discrepancies, that's when you just got to leave it alone, when you got discrepancies like that. And it's too many to even to even mention. It's just too many discrepancies. So, for instance, I give you an example. You got some stuff to talk about, making it like it's okay to worship some of this psychic stuff. You also got some stuff that clearly supposed to be a part of the book of Daniel. Add 2 chapters to Daniel, but they got their subtitles, Susanna and Bel and the Dragon, that it just don't line up. So it's too much that don't line up. Then the big question is what everybody should ask themselves is, like you said, some truth in it. Well, what truth? Well, what really, those that's pushing it, what are they really saying? What are they really saying that we're going to get from the Apocrypha that we can't already get? People have told me that Greek stuff. That's why I heard you say that Greek stuff. Look, I read about the Greeks in Daniel. I know that the Greeks, from reading this Bible, was the 3rd world ruling Gentile dynasty. And we can read about their different whole bunch of kings from the Greeks. We know that they ruled over Israel after the Medes and the Persians from this Bible. So I don't have to go to the Apocrypha to get that. I don't need to go to the Apocrypha to get that. We Ecclesiastes 12 though. Concerning the Feast of Dedication. That's not a feast day that God gave. So I'm not worried about that. If it was a feast day that God gave, it would be in Leviticus 23. And God will wink at some stuff, but it's not a feast day that God gave. Neither will it be observed in his kingdom. So, again, that's not something that I'm worried about. It's mentioned in John 10. So I don't have to even go to the Apocrypha to read about it. It's mentioned in John 10. It's not mentioned like, okay, you should do it. It's just mentioned that that's what was going on. It's just like this Sunday, we having a cookout and a clothing giveaway at our church school this Sunday. If Jesus was here, just say Jesus was here. It's far-fetched, but work with me. If Jesus was here and he came to Israel, the Church of Jesus, cookout, and was preaching to some people there, and they made a record of that and said it was the Israel Church of Jesus, cookout, clothing giveaway, and Jesus was there, that wouldn't sanction it to say that that's a holy day. That wouldn't mean nothing. But it wouldn't be nothing wrong with somebody being there, Jesus or anybody else. Obviously, it's nothing wrong, but that don't make that a holy day. Even though we think it's a good occasion, it's good for us to do it, to try to help people, give away some clothes, feed some people. We think that's a good endeavor, but we can't never make it a holy day. So, so God will wink at stuff like that, but that don't, we can't add it to the holy day list. So that's why we don't worry about the feast of dedication, and again, it's mentioned in John the 10th chapter, so we don't have to go somewhere else to find out about it. But the key is it in Leviticus the 23rd chapter? And that answer is no. But now, Ecclesiastes 12. So that's what we have to always ask ourselves. Well, what really am I going to get out of it? Do I need something else outside it? Am I missing something here that I really need to get salvation? And if the answer is no, it's not worth me running the risk of getting tangled up in some stuff. Obviously, whatever part is read in the Apocrypha to try to say the Gentiles can't get salvation, obviously is wrong, because else you got to throw out all this Bible. Because this Bible is letting you know that all nations can be saved, can get salvation in so many places, Old and New Testament. So what you going to do? You have to pick. Ecclesiastes 12, and pick it up at verse 12. Go ahead, and this is it.
And further, by these, my son, be admonished. Of many books there is no end.
Making many books there is no end. Go ahead.
And much study is a weariness of the flesh.
And much study is weariness of the flesh. See, so making books there be no end. See, that's how wise God is. God is so wise, he gave us basically a perfect book. One that's not too much for you. This book is not even that heavy to carry around. You can read it all. A lot of people haven't even read it all in their lifetime. Why? You know, I read the Bible all the way through, more than one. But some people be worried about the Apocrypha. They ain't even read this all the way through.
Right.
And they worried about the Apocrypha. You ain't even got a thorough understanding of it. I had a brother, a Gentile brother, years ago. He tried to tell me about, brother, you need them other books. You need them other books. And as I'm talking to him, he said, I need them other books. He says, you know, sometimes swine came up. He said, well, you know, if you had them other books, you would know that God just told that to Moses. He just said something to Moses. You know, he was really talking about swine like people. I said, man, it's bigger than Moses. But he worried about some other books. And I flipped over and read Genesis 7 to him to show him this was way before Moses. He had never seen that in his life. And his eyes got real big when it talked about clean and unclean animals. I said, see, that's your problem, brother. You worried about other books. You don't know what's in this book. Get this book down first. Then maybe you can venture out. And you're not going to get it down, all of it, before the Lord comes. Because it's vast. But the Lord gave us everything we need in here. So that's how the Lord did. He gave us a perfect package where, hey, you can get salvation. You got everything you need. And you can deal with it. Eventually, you got to end it. Because it could be more and more books. I'm confident. I know it's other legitimate books out there. Some of the Apocrypha look like it got some accuracy. I read it. Some of the Apocrypha do look like it got some accuracy. But it's not worth me risking other people who don't understand a lot to be mixing it in when I see errors within it too, and the Lord left it out. There's no need for me to, and I don't need it. I don't need it. The best is when you find some other legitimate books out here, the best it's going to do is go along with what we got here. That's all it can do, because we got everything we need here. So he said, further by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end to that. That would never end. If you worried about having some books. And much study is weariness of the flesh. But what's the bottom line that we need to get to? And once you get to this bottom line, everything else is a bonus. Any other knowledge is a bonus. Yeah, I know about the 4 beasts in Daniel. That Daniel wrote about, including the Greek Empire. So I don't have to go to the Apocrypha to find out about that. I got them all in here. Name all kind of kings. Like the king that they want to talk about from the Apocrypha, he mentioned in the Bible. What's his name? Antiochus. He mentioned in the Bible. So I know it's talking about him. So, but I can know about all that stuff. Only thing that should do is enhance my desire and my willingness to obey God. Because that's the bottom line. That's what he said here, verse 13. Read it.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
That's the conclusion of the whole matter. All the books you get, pile them all up and end up with this. Go ahead.
Fear God and keep his commandments.
See, once you got that, you got it. Fear God and keep his commandments. Go ahead.
For this is the whole duty of man.
See, anything else? Hey, it's a bonus. This is the whole duty. Fear God and keep his commandments. Conclusion. Why?
For God shall bring every work into judgment, whether it be secret, with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
So he's going to bring every work into judgment. So you're going to have to answer. So you got to get to this conclusion with whatever books you got. And we got plenty here to tell us this. Now let's go to John, the 20th chapter. John, the 20th chapter. See, the Bible speak about other books that's not here. So it's not trying to hide it from you. It's just like people act like, well, the Apocrypha, they took it out and trying to hide. Look, if they took it out and trying to hide it, why you got it?
Right.
Nobody trying to hide nothing. Obviously, God didn't want it with this. They ain't trying to hide it. They got, matter of fact, I got a Catholic Bible and the Apocrypha is in it. So they got it in their Bibles. They not trying to hide it. Maybe God finds some indifference with it. Maybe. That's what people need to consider. John 20. And I can go through some other specifics of the Apocrypha, but I don't even get into all that on how certain things is wrong. It's not even that serious because what I ask people who pushing it, because it's too much push about it. What am I going to get? Only reason you got to be pushing it so you trying to find something to deviate from this. That'd be the problem. If it's just going to go along with it, and I'm saying the same thing you saying, then what's the problem? 20. John 20. And we're going to pick it up at verse 30. Go ahead.
And many other signs truly did Jesus in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book.
And many other signs, many other things, many other signs, just even after he came out the grave, did Jesus in the presence of his disciples, which what?
Which are not written in this book.
Which are not written in this book. See, everything can't even be written down. Everything can't even be written down. And then everything that's written down, you ain't going to be able to read it all. So it's a moot point. Just like this Bible. This Bible got more than enough that we ain't going to be able to understand everything in it until he comes. Right. So is it necessary to be trying to heap and heap? Get some more. I need some more. I need some more. No, get this down. So they're not written in this book, but what's written is this is what you got. What you got is what you work with. And it's more than enough. Verse 31.
But these are written that ye might believe that Jesus is the Christ.
But what's written is that you might believe that Jesus is the Christ. Go ahead.
The Son of God.
And
that believing ye might have life through his name.
Okay, skip over to verse the 21st chapter. The next chapter, 21st chapter. And verse 24. 21 and 24. Read it.
This is the disciple which testifieth of these things.
This is John. Go ahead.
And wrote these things. And we know that his testimony is true. And there are also many other things which Jesus did, the which, if they should be written every one, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that should be written. Amen.
So we don't need to have every book that could be written and everything. You just got enough to get you to believe and do God's will. And if you got that, with this right here, with what we got, then I don't see why people so caught up unless they trying to get on something else. And that's what happened. Because I've seen plenty of people get caught up on some other books and they lose what they got here. They lose the understanding they got here because they start to deviate. So if you got what you need here, then it shouldn't be no urgency to be trying to find something else. Only thing urgent is trying to get this down and stick with it. That's what you need to be worried about. Let's look at one more thing. Go to Deuteronomy 29. So everything couldn't be written in the first place.
29 and 29.
Deuteronomy 29 and verse 29. He said the world couldn't contain the books that could be written. If everything that Jesus did. So that lets you know, brothers and sisters, God knew what he was doing when he put the period on it and said, this is the Holy Bible. Run with this and get salvation. He knew what he was doing because he could have kept on going, kept on going, kept on going. And we have 3 Bibles this size. that represent the Bible. But then, if people haven't even read all of this, no, they ain't gonna read that. They ain't gonna read that. So he gave you plenty, but not too much to overburden you. He gave you enough to work with, and gave you plenty to get salvation. He's telling you before, back to his creation, starting with his creation, all through time, many prophets. Then you get down to the Messiah come. Right in line with everything that's been written by the prophets. Then you go through with the apostles. Then you get down to the end of time the Bible is taking you to. The end of the world. Then you get down to Judgment Day, which we read about today. Then after that, you're going to get down to New Jerusalem. So we got from beginning to end and all in between. And more important, you got everything you need to do to please God. What else do you need? And that's what people need to ask themselves. What really are you going to get from the Apocrypha or any other lost book? Because they be pushing these other lost books. And the problem with pushing them so, if you pushing them so, you have to look at the objective of being of somebody pushing it so. Sometimes people be trying to show they know something and get you to listen to them. 29 and 29. Read that. Deuteronomy 29 and 29. Go ahead.
The secret things belong unto the Lord our God.
So you're not going to understand everything, period, anyway. The Lord not trying to show you everything, period. But what he showed you, what we got written in this book, is enough for you to do what you need to do. The secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but what?
But those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever.
Those things that are revealed belong to us and to our children forever. That we may do what?
That we may do all the words of this law.
And that's what it's all about, that we can obey. So once you understand that, you no longer have to be looking for other books. You just got to stick with that. So that's what you could ask somebody. What benefit am I going to get that I really need? You know, tell me something about some Greeks. That's not it. And I can read about the Greeks in here. That's not it at all. I can read. We know the Greeks was the third ruling empire that ruled over Israel, had Israel. Like, what is that? Come on now. This is just some backwards reasoning to try to get somebody to detour from what's already solid. And if it's some good in any other book, that's fine. It ain't going to do nothing but confirm with this. I asked brothers before, I said, well, what am I going to get? Brother brought that Greek stuff to me too. Brought that Greek stuff. And I flipped over and read in Daniel. All about it. Flip over to Daniel 11. I'm going to read this. I flipped over and read this. I said, well, I read about that in there. All over there. I ain't got to go to the Apocrypha to read about that. It's obvious. Daniel 11. And we're going to pick it up at 1. Go ahead, read it. See, but that ain't enough. Like that's some salvation in that anyway. Like, that's what it's come to? And then the Feast of Dedication, it's not a feast day that God ordained. Some Israelites came up with it. And just like Israelites come up with a lot of things. And record of it was made that they came up with it. God ain't never said that's one of his holy days. But now, 11 and 1, read it.
Also, I in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I, stood to confirm and to strengthen him.
Mm-hmm.
And now will I show thee the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia,
mm-hmm.
and the 4th shall be far richer than they all.
See, it's telling you about these kings that was going to come from the Persian Empire, which was Russia, Iran, which came before the Greek Empire. Go ahead.
And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia.
He gonna stir up all against the realm of Grecia. Okay, he go to Greek Empire. And this is what made them come on. They tried to suppress him, but wasn't no suppressing the Greeks at this time. Go ahead.
And a mighty king shall stand up.
That's Alexander the Great. Go ahead.
That shall rule with great dominion.
Uh-huh.
And do according to his will.
Uh-huh. And that's what he did. That's how the Greek Empire got established. Go ahead.
And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken.
Mm-hmm.
And shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And not to his posterity.
So Alexander the Great, the first king of the Greek Empire, when he took over the kingdom, he died at a young age, 33 years old, got some disease, and he didn't have no son old enough to take the throne. So that's what it means. His kingdom got divided not to his posterity, not to his children. He didn't have nobody that could take it. So his four generals, that's what it said, divided to the four winds, took over. They fought and fought and fought. But they end up breaking it into four parts. Alexander the Great's kingdom, because none of them couldn't be like him. Go ahead.
Nor according to his dominion which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those.
Even for others, because that's bringing in the Romans. Because more important than the Greeks was the Romans, who still ruling to this day. If I'm going to be worried about something, find me something with the Romans telling me about the last day. The Romans running things now, not the Greeks. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
And the king of the south, and the king of the south shall be strong,
mm-hmm.
and one of his princes.
See, now all this, from here on out, all the way down toward the end of this chapter, till he get back to the Romans, is about the Greek Empire. I'm talking about all of it. Even when it mentioned Egypt, it's talking about the Greeks that was in Egypt. All of this. The rest of this chapter mainly is all about the intrigues of the Greek Empire. So, I know all about that. And if I want to look at anything else, I can find that in all kind of books. But the Lord gave me plenty right here. Just like I know how I know it's Alexander the Great. Because the Lord is showing you the kingdom that's going to rule. But that's not nothing that I have to run to any other book to find out about. So hopefully that answered the question. And with that said, I think we're going to call it an evening. Question we didn't get to, we apologize. We're going to do so much in a few hours. So,
This is not a valid menu option. Everyone else is now muted. Everyone else is now unmuted. Hello.
All right.
Thank you, Brother Elijah.
All right. You're welcome, sis. All right. Peace and blessing. All right. Yes, sir.
I had a question earlier, but I guess I can wait till next week then.
What you got? Who is this, Brother John?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know your voice. Where you state your name and your city, Brother John.
Brother John from Rochester, New York.
All right. What's your question, Brother John? You want to wait till next week?
Yeah, I'll wait till next week.
Okay. All right, everybody. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope you guys edified, and we're going to go ahead and close out with a prayer. Brother Mikael going to close us out.
Our Father,
Father,
which art in heaven,
Which art in heaven, which art in heaven.
hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come. Thy kingdom come.
thy will be done
Thy will be done. Thy will be done.
in earth
In earth.
as it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily bread,
our daily bread.
and forgive us our debts
And forgive us our debts.
as we forgive our debtors.
You forgive like that too.
And lead us not
Lead us not
into temptation,
into temptation,
but deliver us
but deliver us
from evil.
from evil.
For thine is the kingdom
And it's a king.
and the power
And the power
and the glory
and the glory
forever.
forever.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. Peace, everybody. Have a good rest of the week until the Sabbath.
Okay, peace be to God, peace, family.
Peace, Israel.
Peace.
Bye.
Let's stop this one here.